Smash Brown, professional MMA fighter by way of Tampa, Florida. How you doing, Martin?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. You?
Good, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I'm doing well. In the OCC studios. You're not too far from me in Tampa, Florida. So give me an update, man. What's going on?
You know, I got that BKFC joint going on, and the Knuckle Mania on football weekend in Tampa.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw it. So February 5th, you're going to be fighting. That's your next fight coming up.
right.
And I want to
Yeah,
say BKFC 15. Is this their 14th or 15th show? I could be off on that. I know they've had.
I don't even know if they call it a BKFC. I think it's called Knuckle Mania.
Okay. The
Same
name. Okay.
promotion.
The
You
name
know.
of the. Oh, okay. Understood. That's a big show, though.
Yeah. They got like a lot of I think Chris Lehman on there. They got Paige Van Zant
Yeah.
is on the card.
They.
I think Dat Win
Yeah.
is on the card. They got some names on there.
Yeah, definitely. So you must be very excited. And this is your first time. I know you fought on Toe the Line. That was your first bare knuckle fight.
Yeah, it's fun, but I mean, professional.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Professional. First
He's been to a
professional bare
scrap
knuckle.
or two.
Yeah,
You know, he's been
yeah.
to a, you know, but nah, yeah, it was the first sanctioned bare knuckle fight.
Okay. Very cool. And I know you got the KO pretty quickly there. That was a little bit of easy work.
It seemed like fighting bare knuckle fares well for either party in a long fight. In bare knuckle, is either you getting hurt from getting beat up or you hurting somebody else. I mean, you hurting your hands beating up on somebody else.
Right.
Pretty primal.
So we'll
I
talk
like
more
it though.
about the bare knuckle aspirations for Martin Smash Brown. But Martin, as we share your story today, inside and outside of the ring, where were you born, and talk to me about your childhood?
Mississippi. You know, for the Vicksburg, Mississippi. You know that's where the Civil War is.
Yeah.
Literally where the Civil War is, Vicksburg. But no, country boy from Mississippi. And then, we don't have the access to the resources to compete at really high levels in this sport. So, it's hard to, it's one of the things, like when a visitor come into town, you know that they had access to like wrestling and stuff like that in the gym when you to, or like when you go to a boxing gym, some of the looks that you see from people that are from repute, you wouldn't even, it'd be your first time seeing it, you wouldn't even know how to deal with it. So I kind of knew I kind of knew that eventually, if I wanted to compete at a high level, I was going to have to leave. You know, so first chance, got left on the first thing smoking, headed to Tampa, and I ended up training with Jihad for, and I ended up training with Gracie Tampa West for
Okay.
jiu-jitsu, and that's when it started kind of level playing field a little bit.
Okay.
And then it was on up. You see stuff on TV. You see stuff on TV all the time. Like, man, I want to do that, but then you don't have a place that you can train and you can do that at. So, just I love my family. I like being around all of my friends, but like in order to compete in this sport, you gotta have somebody who know how to train you for that level, know everything about that level. All the things that you need to get ready for this particular person or this particular style. You have to have those things in front of you on a daily basis.
Right.
You gotta have the ability to get ready for that. Like had I stayed in Mississippi, I won 2 world titles. There wasn't nobody in my gym that was gonna be able to emulate what they brought to the table. You
Mm.
know, so I didn't want to leave. And sometimes I wish there was a way for me to bring that back to my hometown. But I opened up a gym in Mississippi, man. And I don't know how to make it feasible.
Okay. Well, so a lot
You
of
know,
challenges, obviously, growing up in
yeah,
Mississippi and lack of resources, it sounds like. And a lot of those challenges, you said, you know what, I got to expand out of this area. I got to move forward. That's what I am going to do, and that's what you've done. What was your
yeah.
introduction into martial arts?
Man, I always had a lot of I had an uncle who was pretty well versed in karate. He did like a lot in Mississippi. All we had was like boxing and tough man competitions and stuff like that. So that's coming up. That's what made me want to do it. I had uncles, I had cousins that were martial artists. They were trained in taekwondo. And we had this guy, like the town's so small, so you got local legends. We had like Eric Rollins, who's this guy that he's always known for teaching people martial art. Um, and him and a couple of others. But my parents were pacifists. They didn't believe in fighting like that. So, but by knowing, you know how it is with kids, if they tell you can't do it,
You got to do
because you don't want to do it. So it was always a fascination to me, man. I was like, man, then especially when you're in the comic books and cartoons and stuff, you're also fascinated with being uh, than a normal man. Like you look at Superman and Spider Man, and then you see that they're better than the average human. You know, I was like, man, I wanna do things that everybody can't do. So I ended up going to the moment I was 18, ended up going to a gym. I want to say it was called Great. I went through the phone book and I was just all these different martial arts. You're like, do you teach jujitsu? So I put it in its proper order because I would have never known to ask about jujitsu. So my buddy showed me a fight, bro. I think so. Hold on, it's cussing in this, right? You know, I gotta edit it. I had to tone it down on this in these stories.
You keep it PG.
I keep it
Don't
PG.
get.
No, I
You
just
can
need to
tell us a
know.
real life story. That's fine. Go ahead.
I just need to know. Not, you know what I'm saying. So I'll keep it PG.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now I'm watching. I was like you get the watered down version of me, or we going all. But no, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
So we showing me a fight, a UFC fight, and I was like, man, these dudes are bashing each other in the head on the ground, and I had never even seen anything like that. And then I remember watching the guy couldn't get up, he was getting hit in the face, and I remember thinking like, man, how how do you? I was like, I'm not worried about striking. Can't nobody right here that can teach you different variations of, but there's no one here that can teach you how to fight if you're on the ground. And then we didn't have, so I didn't know that it was called. Then we didn't have wrestling in the whole state of Mississippi.
Wow.
So like the you see what I'm saying? The thought fighting on the ground wasn't even something I could comprehend. So when I saw it for the first time, man, I was like, I know I uncles that could teach me kickboxing and stuff like that. I can as far as striking is concerned, but I got on the phone, man, and literally when you know how long ago it was when they had phone books. When the last time you heard somebody say, I looked in the phone book,
That
so
goes
I
back
looked,
a
but I
ways.
really did.
Right.
I looked up jujitsu. I looked up Gracie. I was looking everything I could find
Wow.
on jiu-jitsu. And I would call these gyms and they'd be like, well, we got ground fighting, And then some I called this one gym. They say, nah, you beat a man up on the ground. That's more, what I'm saying? Instead of just saying, nah, man, I don't
Right.
specialize in that,
Right.
So I finally found this one gym and they were like, yeah, we teach jiu-jitsu. I was like, all right, cool. Now that's the first thing. You
Right.
guys do any kickboxing or anything like that? And he was like, nah, but we primarily do judo and jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, cool. So I went there, and then literally as soon as I went to that jiu-jitsu, a month afterwards, another guy named Travis Nagel, who was the first black belt under Rob Khan, he came down. That's all of the. He's the founder of all the Gracie Academies in
Okay.
Tampa. Um, he just so happened to buy. I just looked up, man. He just so happened to buy the gym that I had just signed up in. I just signed up there. He bought the gym like 1 month later. Ended up being another Gracie Academy. So that's how I. That was my introduction into MMA. I had to train there like maybe 2 years. I think maybe a year. Ended up having it like after a year, and then went a year after that. So
Wow.
it was history. But like I say, so me being in there though, you notice like every time you travel and you go train in another gym, you notice the level was a little bit higher than where I was training. They had the resources like that.
Yeah, and it's
So
interesting that you say just learning the different martial arts and combining them to end up to be able to fight at a much higher level, incorporating all those different types of martial arts. And I think a lot
yeah,
of people look at the sport and like, oh, he's a boxer, he's a jiu-jitsu guy, or well, try putting them all together and being a complete
right.
fighter. And I think people don't have the general public doesn't understand that at all times. You get guys in grappling
Yeah,
matches, jiu-jitsu and boxing and kickboxing, and then it's like one guy specializes in this, the other guy specializes in the other. And it's funny because now it's like in the beginning, it was one guy had a specialty versus another guy with a specialty. And it's
yeah.
like that has
It's
nothing to do with it. We got to incorporate everything here.
yeah. You got guys. I mean, you still sometimes you still have fighters that it's it's the same way.
Yeah,
Fighters, we you have fighters that are so certain areas and they have no aspirations of learning any other art, and they just like training what they're good at. And they are good at it, so you'll see them beat people up and then get taken the fish out of water. Or the other way around. You get people that were really, 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 really good jiu-jitsu players
right.
and look like man, it look like you can find them. You found them on a world star. You know what I'm saying? And you put they be borderline about to hit you with a windmill.
Right.
So you still have fighters. You still have fighters that's like that. It came by really easy with me because when we were kids, we lived in the country. We didn't have wrestling. We had wrestling. You we used to pick each other up in the front. You got yards that are bigger than they are in the city. So
Right.
like we picking each other up. We got acres. We picking each other up, slamming each other, and then it's like everybody, all the kids in the neighborhood, like that was pastime. Like some kids playing football, like nah, let's slam each other. Let's do it here. And so that I didn't know that all that time I was preparing to be a world champion. But like you just like fighting was something we would be sitting around and be like, dang man, ain't enough people out. We was knocking on everybody's door to come outside and play football. Ain't enough people out here. We'll go outside and rap. We'll go outside and fight. You know what I'm saying? We go out, we tag teams sometimes. Sometimes it was so many of us. Sometimes we live in the and then we'd be like, let's pretend that you this hood and we this hood. We gonna do hood fight, hood against hood fighting. Like so we would play around with the idea of fighting. And sometimes you didn't have the money or your daddy was not gonna buy no gloves. And we used to put pillows on our knuckles and go outside and fight.
Wow.
Sometimes the padding will slip off the side of your knuckle and you punch your homeboy in the face with a real knuckle. You so I just grew up doing that so much that transitioning into MMA wasn't a problem. Like at the way, like as far as me in boxing in its purest form, in MMA, I look extremely sleek and elegant in my style and clean and crisp. But when you're in a sport where everybody's like that, you look at me compared, in comparison to them, they're even more fluid than me, and I have more of a grimier style, So it's always been an easy transition to flow through the different arts. And then also, I mean, by now it's pretty clear. Like I'm a student of this. Like at age 36, I still sit back and some of the stuff these young guys doing. I'm like, man, that's dope. I wonder how he do that, or I wonder how I would stop that. I bust his head. I do this to him. I'm still looking that way. I don't get tired of the sport. Like I love this sport, so I grow as the sport grows. So the
That's
trend,
awesome.
I mean, as far as fighting is concerned, you're never gonna see me in boxing, and I'm trying to be the best boxer. If I'm kickboxing, I'm trying to be the best kickboxer. If
Hmm.
in mixed martial arts, I never wanted to be that guy. I was primarily a striker, but you ask anybody, you ask anybody in any Gracie Academy, they'll tell you I was never a slouch. Like I wasn't. And then you know how you got some guys that roll every day, but in comparison to other jujitsu players, they're not really that good. Like no, I had a guard. Like I have a decent guard. You know what I'm saying? And one thing you see in MMA though is I don't get held down by anybody, like anybody. So I've always been good at what I do. So even this bare knuckle, like I'm actually intrigued in that. Like it's not quite. It's pretty close to boxing, but it's not quite boxing. Being that I mean, the breath don't break just because you guys are tied up. You got one free hand, they still let you work.
Yeah, you got to work out of the
So
clinch, and a lot of people don't realize it's more of like a
yeah,
dirty boxing style. But they do
right,
let you get in the clinch. You got to work out of it, and a lot of people don't realize that. So it's a great
right,
point that you make.
yeah. So I mean, and it's something that like you it is is beautifully mixed together. It's a back because if you try to keep it too elegant, you know what I'm saying, and too clean of a fight, then like if it gets ugly where guys are tying up and holding and hitting and stuff like that and know how to do it, and then on top of that you don't have that. That's a different type of conditioning when somebody's laying on you, pushing you, pulling you, and it's a different type of griminess too. So it I do think it's a sport that's tailor made for me to dominate. I'm that guy. Like I did box, like I said, but I did box, and I mean, my head coach is a boxing coach. I trained primarily with people who box, but being that I was I came down here to Florida, a kickboxer, so the element of the clinch does nothing to me. Like I don't care about anybody grabbing the back of my head and hitting me. I can fight. And
Right.
then being in MMA, I also know how to wrestle. So like the being able to move people around and the ability to get safe through people up. Like I wrestle too. So I know I learned how to wrestle when I got here to Florida. So it's man, I feel like this sport is made for me to rule. I wish it had come around when I was like 29, 30 years old. You know,
Yeah, it's interesting. And it makes me look back to a guy like Kimbo Slice, for instance. Imagine a big name like that. And I think really
yeah,
what BKFC is lacking is really the huge name. And I think a guy like
yeah,
Kimbo Slice would have been that guy. And imagine him being still around. May he rest in peace. a guy like that with such a big name, it would have just brought even more attention. And it's growing. As we know, BKFC is growing. But Martin Smash Brown, that could be you, you know. You could be
Man,
that
that
guy.
will be me. I'm not worried about none of those dudes in their promotion, man. None of them.
Yeah.
Like, remember I told you. Remember that I told you. I tell everybody the same thing, man. Because I'm calling it before it happens. But I ain't just saying it. Like, I'm not just saying this because I'm just a guy who, we in here talking noise, and all my coaches sat around and told me that I'm the best, and I just gotta go in there and hype myself up. Like, you looking at the face of that company. Like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Like, there's nobody motion that want any smoke with me. Like, everybody know that I'm dangerous. Just, like, as you go up in level, like, your lifestyle change. So right now, it's just getting accustomed to, like, like, right now, I'm driving around selling tickets and stuff. And this is the most tickets I ever sold. But I feel like there's a more efficient way to do. Uh, haven't had the time to even sit down and talk to people now. Like, hey, now that you hit that level where the requirement is no amount of tickets and still be able to train and perform at that. But like, what's the most efficient thing that you got? What's the most efficient way you guys are selling tickets? So I'm still learning it. I'm still learning it. Like, my management team is my friend. You know what I'm saying? Because I trust. I got people I know, but with that kid, my homeboys, and they actually people that's like my actual little brothers. You know, there is a learning curve.
Right.
Like they didn't really in the fight sport, was born in the fight sport. I wasn't born in started as far as MMA is concerned.
Right.
Like, I mean, Mississippi, all kinds of non-sanctioned. You fighting, right? There's people paying you to fight. You don't have no money, you'll go fight anybody.
Mm.
But as far as things being sanctioned, by an action commission, I didn't start doing this until I was a professional at 20 years old. I got to look on Tapology to see what the actual age I was.
Yeah.
Started 16 years ago.
Wow.
So, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
but he's the only person out of the group that was born in the sport. Like, he was 8 years old when he started, and his dad was grooming him to be a champion. The only thing stopped him, he was an Olympic ultimate. The only thing that stopped him was ended up getting in. So, you know what I'm saying? Like he knows more about the business side than any of us do.
Right.
You know,
So, Martin, and it sounds like, so you started, I think you made your pro debut in 2009 in MMA. Is that correct?
I don't know. I gotta look. What does it
Yeah,
say
I
on
want to say it was
Tapology? Hold on.
2009.
You
We're
know,
looking at, so you're 14-5 as an
yeah.
MMA fighter, and you've traveled the world. I want to hear about some of those experiences because I was talking to our boy Chris, and
Yeah.
we were talking about how you went over to Kazakhstan at one point.
Man.
I want to hear about that,
Yeah.
man.
That was interesting, man. Kazakhstan, is an interesting place, man, because the cultures in different countries are different, man. Like, D fighting in the DR
Right.
was dope because you could kind of see that the culture. And man, like, to be honest, the reception of the people, for whatever reason, whatever reason it was, people were just they were, when you're in the DR, like, when you start promoting, you start talking noise, and you'll make a post about that guy, they'll make a post about you and like, where you at? So they they don't get offended like that's off to Johansson Paulino for the game or stepping up and taking a fight. But like I'll post and he don't even speak English. But it was somehow there was a full understanding there, like, man, hey, we gotta promote this fight. We gotta I say something about him and he'll post his head on some kind of meme and he's talking about how he gonna whoop me. And then he got his people and like and there but it was never hostile. It was never
Yeah.
like I need to go over there and be worried and be stuck in a hotel room, it was and it was so cool. I was walking down the street. It would be people that, and, like couple. It's weird, man. All homeboy, they speak Spanish. They've been in Florida forever. I don't speak. My country's up from this. I don't speak English well. So it would be cool. They would stop me like, yeah, you fighting my teammate. It would be cool in pictures. They'd be cool with like and just and they gonna beat you up. Like, man, don't be you still gonna be my fan if your teammate. You know,
Right.
it was this weird vibe, man. There was a mutual respect. Like Kazakhstan, they don't play that cracking jokes. Man. Like you can't even. It wasn't bad because when you understand that they're once you get an understanding, you'll understand why it's like that. Like honor is is kind of a big deal to them.
Right.
So like so you know what I'm saying? And realize noise. Like we talk noise when we playing a game of Uno. We playing spades, we talking noise.
Right.
We talking noise if I beat you, killer instinct, like or Street Fighter, I ain't gonna never let you live that down. And then when you look at us in boxing, basketball and football, like we always talking noise. We always showboat. That's a cultural thing. I ain't got no. I don't feel sorry. But it brings a competitive nature to the sport, and it gives people interested in it. When we would go to Kazakhstan, like the first thing that we hear is that most of them look Asian,
Hmm.
and but they're Muslim, and so it was like Asian Muslim. I ain't saying they ain't a apostle. Two being from the West, that would not go together. But I'm pretty sure in China they have a bunch of Muslims, but due that I don't see it that often, being
Okay.
in the U.S.,
Yeah, it was definitely
I
different.
yeah, it was new for me. So that I noticed is which is not bad, nothing bad about it. I just it was new, you know. Then and that's the predominant religion over
Right.
there. Yeah. Then the next thing that you notice when you go there is like they have royalty. You know what I'm saying? So the guy was yeah, we fighting. We as soon as we get off, as soon as so I didn't notice that there ain't no black. So I get off the plane and I'm getting off. I'm in the airport. I hadn't even set foot in. Well, obviously I'm setting foot in Kazakhstan, but I hadn't walked out of the airport yet. I'm picking up my luggage, and the guy's looking like me. Like then he pulls out a flyer on his phone. He's showing it. He's like, you fighting? Like he hand signals, but he's trying to ask me, am I the one that's fighting? I was like, but what are the odds? I'm looking over at the guys like, what are the odds of him actually knowing that I'm here for a fight? I didn't know that the reason he knew because I'm the only like I get there and I'm like, oh man, this okay. You know what I'm saying? I better not do it. All right. They gonna know who did this. They gonna
Right.
eat fried me. You know, not just a black dude, a black dude with dreads. You know, so and then there's a whole bunch of black people. You know what I'm saying? So they all flew out. So we get out there and first body knows who you are. You riding in the street, they know that you are their champion, and they all know that guy. Like he's like royalty, and his brother is a national hero. So I'm like, well,
Wow.
I can tell you right now, I ain't gonna get not one fan when I leave here. Ain't no need of trying to promote to gain or to get fans. So now it's time to make them hate me more if I want more of them to attend the show. So we start trolling, we start talking. Then they do the food though. Man, food was good, but you don't eat cows. I mean, they eat cows, but their pride is horse meat.
Wow.
And I was like, man, I ain't gonna do it, man. I say, yeah, man, because horses is associated with being pets in America, man. I can't do it. I just can't. I just can't. What you got on your plate? That look kind of good, but I ain't gonna eat it, man. I ain't gonna eat it. And before I it tastes barbecue.
Yeah. So so Martin, you're going through this experience, and at this point, you've fought in different parts of the world. I don't think
Yeah,
anything measured up to this at this point. I mean, you've obviously at that point been in the fight game for a while, not a game, but the sport, and you're trying to. That's a heck of an experience, man. I mean,
yeah. You. I think their venue it was 17,000 seat capacity. And you go there and you do have a hostile crowd in Kazakhstan. Everyone is there to see you lose, and it's crazy because crowd the way the crowd responds can sway the judges. The rule of thumb is if you want to know who really won a fight, you need to turn the volume down so you can see only count the points that the punches that and but sometimes hearing the crowd and listening to stuff that the comment
right,
opinion of who's winning, or even how you would have previously gauged the fight or judged the fight, can be swayed. You hear the ooh. I remember when Justin Gaethje fought Melvin Gillard. When I was watching for PFL, I thought that Gaethje had dominated Melvin, and but it's because I was emotionally invested.
right,
Like I saw Gaethje sitting on all them punches, and I was like, oh, he almost got hit. Oh, but if he gets that, oh, and I kept doing that. But remember, almost counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Almost hitting somebody doesn't do damage.
right.
But I was so emotionally invested in the fight that I every time he almost got hit. And so I was like, it was definitely. And then my head coach was like, go watch the fight again. Go cut the volume down. It ended up not being as much of a landslide as I thought. Now, granted, the third round, Melvin got his legs chopped down. But, but as far as points, punches landed, and points and stuff, it, man, it's an argument that can be made that Melvin potentially won that fight.
Interesting.
If you're, it's just like there's an argument now like Canelo when Canelo fought Austin Trout, clear Trout like bad, real bad. But and then there were times that Canelo was slipping punches and making Austin Trout miss. But due to the fact that Austin isn't a big puncher, like some of the punches that Austin was landing didn't do any damage whatsoever. But the question is depending on how you're judging. You judge it based on damage done, or you judging it based on points.
Uh,
Hard to tell who.
yeah. Are you talking about Arison Lara? Aris Landy Lara
No,
when
no,
he fought
no.
Lara, but the Trout fight?
there was an Austin Trout fight.
Okay.
Austin Trout was like throwing a bunch of punches at him, and they didn't do wouldn't have even if he had put makeup put makeup on his face. You know what I'm saying? But I get the thing is I get the argument they were making. So now I digress and I go back to what we were originally talking about. In Canada, when you have a hostile crowd like that, the one I was thinking about, and Jahad did warn me. He said, "Hey, if he said you can have a bunch of punches where you slipping and rolling them because the crowd is going to scream if he even." He said, "If he throws, I want you to break him up. Every throws, I want you to counter him." He said, even if you're like moving around and keeping him on the outside, that can be seen as you running. He's pushing forward, and he ain't landing nothing, but you landing him. They say that you're running. So he said perception is interesting, and you have to be aware that. So first round came, and it was close. Shorty Torres gave him the round because uh, he gave me a takedown and a sweep. He gave him two takedowns. Um, so he said I would give his fight to baby. But in the second round, felt everything he had. I came out and I was just simply like, remember, don't let anything look like he's mounting off offensive points. So I just dominated the whole fight. I never let him score, never more takedowns. I ain't let him get anything. And then once they'll telling you that you're good, but when you beat the best guy they have in their whole country,
Right.
it's confirmed now. You know you belong there. Fight to DR and you do it again. I know I belong there now, man. But a country boy from Mississippi, my family don't have much. So it's hard to believe that little old you from a little old country town. Everybody put good strong on your football team. I didn't start like I was fifth quarter type of dude. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Well,
didn't get. I
position
liked the
position was left out. Left out.
yeah. I spent more time on the sidelines than I did on the field. I came in this sport with forward self esteem. But one thing I could do is I could fight. Like I knew I could fight, and so but even then, I just thought I could fight. Like I'm good. I'm a good guy in a scrap as a civilian. But I didn't know. Like my coach, he would always tell me, man, just like Mike Tyson said, Customata would tell him, like, man, you belong there. You belong there amongst the greats. You belong there. So that's again going back to how the fight in Kazakhstan is. I there was moments of show where I'd be like, man, I never fought for a world title. I never fought in a venue this big. Like, and I would get paranoid. And then
Yeah, for
on
sure.
every media outlet that they had, you see what they saying, but you see your face. So I was like, man, I don't know. Uh, I might as well a check, that I can't cash, but and then it ended up winning.
Yeah,
Now,
truly,
now, like, go ahead.
truly a great experience. I mean, and a lot of people don't get to have that in the fight world, but you went from, middle of nowhere Mississippi to fighting in someone's backyard multiple times. You have that
Yeah,
experience, and it reminds me a lot when fighters would fight Miguel Cotto in Madison Square Garden. You know what they say?
yeah,
Good luck. When
right,
you have, like you said, if you're in that such a large stadium and it's all of the fighter you're against, all of his fans,
right,
but then they always
right,
say there's only two guys in the ring. So
right.
with that
I,
mentality and your confidence, it looks like it went the right direction for you for sure. Um,
yeah,
that's
you, you
awesome.
know, you, a lot of those in boxing, man. The thing that I do admire about boxing and wrestling is, man, a lot of those guys, those are sports that are very old in this country. So, um, I got an amateur in my gym named Charlie Keenan, and um, he's competing in wrestling nationally.
Okay.
In front of like huge venues. You know, Jihad. When I asked him about the experiences in boxing, he's competed. I mean, he's went to an Olympic ultimate. Like he's fought in front of massive crowds so many times. And then, especially in boxing, some of these guys got 200, 300 fights,
Right.
hundred and some fights before they go pro. So um, they beat so many people up that were good that walking in your backyard and someone telling them like, man, this dude real good, man. I'm telling you, this dude good. They like, so I've been beating up people that y'all said was real good. This is the experience. So I was at as old as I was in my 30s, scared, still scared of my opposition because I was learning on they had things that they had children. I was still learning as an adult.
Wow.
I still to this day, I used to be ashamed to even tell people that, but I mean, live and you learn. But now, you know what I'm saying? Like even going into the next bare knuckle fight. I mean, not the next bare knuckle, but going into the next when we I'd already won in Kazakhstan, and Jahal was like, "Man, I keep telling you, man, you still telling me you nervous? Like, man, you belong here." It wasn't until finally when I fought for bare knuckle that was the first time that I walked in and I said, "Man, I just don't care. I've two titles. I've had a title, held a title, even a local title, early in my professional career. Like my first or second fight, I was a belt holder.
Yeah.
So
I I saw
go ahead.
that. Sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
Martin. And your fourth fight into your career, you fought in Bellator down in Hollywood, Florida. And
Man, I wasn't smart. They brought me in as an opponent. I
okay,
thought I was. When you look in and when you look back, I did really good though. For a guy who was not supposed to be in there.
there's some big
I didn't
names on
get
that
hit.
card, there, and that was very early on in your
Yeah,
career. I said, man,
yeah. I didn't
okay.
get hit not one time. Literally, I went through the whole fight. If the scoring then was the way that the scoring is now, like if you just take a guy in one spot, you ain't gonna get no credit for that anymore. In time frame where you could put a whole bunch of whooping on somebody, and then they take you down one time and do nothing, no ground, no passing the guard. They could literally just sit. They could literally just sit in your and they could win the whole round. Like when I fought JP Reese, I walked out of there like I had just got done jogging. He got three takedowns on me. He got one round, and at that time, I was attacking him from the guard, but I didn't, what I'm saying? I didn't know how to get up. I didn't even know I was supposed to get up. I remember so young into my career, I remember thinking like, not hitting me, you know, I just can't get the submission, but that's okay. He's not doing anything. And then they raised his hand. But if I knew what I knew now, what I'm saying.
Yeah,
But again, if I knew now, I would have been like, no, don't take the fight.
right.
But then, when you're a young kid and it's presented to you as, man, you about to get the opportunity for a lifetime. You want to P Reese, and you can get to it on TV. But what you don't know is, boy, I almost won that fight though. But when yeah, I'm saying you don't know that there's really no way you can win. You can win. The favor did not bring you out there to win. If you win, it's a chance. Close fight, you still gonna get the win. Like I didn't know. I didn't know stood on the playing field. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now,
It's a very different sport in regards to the
yeah,
business of it, and a lot of people don't understand that. And yeah, I was looking at your record, and I'm going, wow, like very early on, fourth fight in Bellator, Hollywood, Florida, like big card. That's
yeah,
impressive. But it just reverts to what we were saying a little while ago. What you were speaking on, just having to go in the lion's den, time after
yeah,
time after time, and really, you've set yourself up now going into bare knuckle, something that's, new to a lot of people. And the
But
nerves
see, now I'm the
they're
big
there, but they're
dog.
not for you. You're prepared.
This time, man, see, there is a familiar phrase that people use in fight sports. They a reference. They say throwing somebody into the wolves. But the thing is, I'm the wolf. You can't throw. You really can't. I point in my career. So when can't, there's no such thing as throwing me in there within to threaten me. The only thing you can do. This is the only thing you can do to me is attempt to throw me into a fight on a very short notice that I don't have the time to train for. And to be honest, I ain't hurting for money that bad. So like a lot of these guys, they're like 14 fights, 15. That's how they get these guys.
Mm,
The UFC ability to tell people like, uh, we are the creme de la creme.
right.
So even though it's short notice, we still the UFC. You want an opportunity? This is the promotion that everybody is aspiring to own.
Right.
So so what if it's 2 weeks notice? It's still the UFC, and so that's how it's proposed to a lot of gymmers. That's how it's proposed to a lot of these new fighters, and so guess what they say? You hear them talk about it all the time. You hear guys like, man, you just got to stay ready. You just got to stay ready. Like, how do you do stay ready? It's 365 days in a year. How do you stay ready all the time? And especially as an older fighter, you're gonna become injury prone if you stay fight ready for
Yeah,
the time.
interesting that you say that because Max Holloway spoke on it, ironically, just the other day before his fight, and he's talked about it in the past, how he hasn't sparred in years. I think that he was quoted as saying that and letting his body
Yeah.
adjust and heal, and not taking the work and the miles on the car, so to say, in training, like you're saying. Um,
So you learn to fight smarter as you get older. Um, Randy Couture years ago, I don't remember who he was fighting in a promo. He said that he said he's not in denial about his age. He doesn't go to sparring and bang with these young bucks no more. He goes in and he said all of his workouts. He's like, I know I'm in my 40s. All of my workouts are low impact. He drills, but that I mean, you've gotten like when you fight. I mean, when you're sparring, the reality is you're trying to see what kind of shape you're in. You're trying to see where your is, and then it's supposed to be a it's supposed to give the an indication of what you guys need to work on in areas. But I mean, when you've been around as long as he do, it's nothing you haven't seen, and it's nothing. It's no looks that you don't know how to deal with. So you don't need to get beat up like that. You just
right.
need to. With those guys, they just need reps. So like their sparring should be like touch sparring. Like you shooting them fast, I'm giving you real speed, but I'm not sitting on punches anymore. I mean, even Floyd Mayweather on those one of those doghouse videos, he said, "Man, guys are starting to catch up." He
Right.
mentioned something
Yeah.
like that. They're starting to catch up with him in the gym, but he said, I'm still the man when it comes to a fight. I ain't a gym warrior no more. I'm the ring. I'm still a ring warrior. So saying like and then afterwards when he was getting ready, when he was getting in the promo for Conor, he was saying he ain't training like that no more.
Mm.
He's like, I just can't, and my body can't do this time, some time with my kid, more time with my kids. Like my body can't hold up to that kind of training at the highest level anymore. So,
Yeah. It's very,
you
very
know, he,
solid points. Interesting, as fighters progress in their career, you've given us a great perspective, giving me a great
yeah,
perspective of what it takes in your career, how it's spanned. I really like the inside look from you. That's awesome, man. It's
Yeah.
really informational, and I'm glad you're able to share your story. So as we transition outside of the octagon, the ring, the bare knuckle fighting championship, I don't. What do they call that? What do they call the BKFC? What is it called? I don't even know what the ring is called. But as we
They
transition,
they been
go
they
ahead.
been calling it the square circle.
The
I guess
square
that's what
circle.
it's
There you have
called.
it.
I don't know. That's kind of a the oxymoron type of
Right.
thing. You know what I'm saying?
So as
But
we as you transition out of that, who is Martin Smash Brown outside of fighting?
man, believe it or not, man, I'm like the most boring dude you can ever think about, man. Like on my downtime, I I on my downtime, I'm in training, and now that I own a gym, I'm training other people, and to make sure, like I'm getting for BKFC, so to make sure that
Right.
I'm not my technique been going downhill. I constantly have to keep doing research to make sure I'm staying up. And believe it or not, I don't roll full speed because I'm getting ready for BKFC. That'd be terrible if you get hurt doing jiu-jitsu when you
Right.
get ready for a bare knuckle fight.
Right.
So I just people and to make sure that I retain the information because you got guys that I'm still training, so still train, have a garden, have
Really?
a you know what I'm saying with trees and stuff,
Okay.
like all kinds of fruit trees,
That's
like
awesome.
so like I'm telling you, man, I'm pretty bored, man. I got to beat people up, but I'm actually
It's
kind of
funny that you say that though, Martin, because meeting you prior, funny guy, man, and you don't try too hard. I think it's just a
yeah,
natural. So
nah.
the comedy, you might have to hit up the improv or something, do a little stand up. It comes
Man, I
naturally,
listen.
man. You're a funny guy, bro.
Everybody
You're a
say
funny
that.
guy.
Everybody say that, but if I the reason I toned it down is because I curse a lot. So you
Okay.
know what I'm saying. I'm trying to keep it PG
Oh,
and get too comfortable. I'm like, oh, you know what I'm saying. I might slip one out. So everybody they say, man, you should do comedy, but like I feel like if I try, then it's funny. It's funny to a lot of people because it's natural. It just comes out, you
that
know.
that could be the post career after fighting. That's the next step. You never know,
And
man. That improv in Tampa's pretty famous. I've been to a couple shows there.
yeah, I might stop by and check
You
it
should
out.
check it out. You
But
should
yeah,
check it out.
I'm pretty boring, man. I play video games and I'm real close to the people that's close to me. Like you're gonna notice it when you bump into people, they speak highly of me because like I actually told them I spend time with people. I don't have social media relationships with people.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a friend on Facebook. Like not that there's a problem with it, but I transition to new societal norms where, you know, a friend you never met before,
Right.
you know, so I'm still old fashioned in that. I know how to. I didn't even know how to set up a Zoom meeting, bro.
That's all right. You're here.
'Cause,
And
I'm
I'm
here.
I'm
I'm
in
here.
in the OCC studios in Orlando, Florida. We're talking to Martin Smash Brown by way of
Yeah,
Tampa,
yeah.
Florida. Martin, talk to me about
Tampa,
your
Florida.
family.
Oh man, they're a good group of country people, man. My mom, and believe my dad is a computer programmer and a systems analyst. So you may be sitting here like, what? And you started fighting? I know. I I can explain. But nah, yeah, my family they and I have two brothers and no sisters. So like all my family lives in Mississippi. My dad has a lot of brothers and sisters. My mom has like five brothers and sisters. So like, and most of them, the majority of them stayed in Mississippi. So you know, closely knit family.
That's awesome.
So it's I don't know, man. Like I had a pretty cool upbringing. Like my family wasn't rich, but I never it's because family wasn't rich, but I never missed a meal, and I've never I've never gone to school with clothes that had holes in it. I've never had shoes that was torn or anything like that. So I can't go. I can't certain things able to speak on. You know how people say, "No, I had it hard out here." Like, nah, people who, and so I can't. You know what I'm saying? Out of, my upbringing was it was all right. Now my dad ain't played at 17 shoes. You
Right.
know, what I'm saying? My dad didn't play that. He used to tell me this. This is how I be for clothes. You go out and you go buy some name brand, and that's all you got, and that's all you got. If it's worth it to you, you're gonna be wearing that shirt every day. You know, you like, and that's how my mom and my daddy was. So
Sounds like
upbringing was pretty cool.
a sense of balance and working with what you had, and you had what you needed.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
they were, yeah. I mean, I may not be that religious, but my mom and daddy was. You know, they were like really Christian, so they were very active in it. My mom was still um, active in, I'm not, but she's active in the NAACP. Mama, I think she was like secretary or president or something like that.
Wow.
But yeah, but and my dad is really active in the community. He was in, he's an alpha, he's a fraternity in it. You know what I'm saying? So he's a frat boy, and they're like big. And back in the day, he used to have this group called Project Alpha. So he used to get these males other men, teaching them how to be men and teaching them how to be in their community. So
Interesting.
I've always grown up with that. I may not have lived in the hood as far as starving, but I was always connected to it, like as far as like all friends that I grew, they didn't all have it like that. But I never since you know how sometimes people hang around each other based on class. You know what I'm saying? I mean, hung around to relate to. So since
Very interesting.
I was
Yeah.
always
So
active in the community, I always wanted to make enough so I could do what he did. That's really to this day. That's all I care for. Like I just want. I I I'm into stuff that don't cost money. You know what I'm saying? Like I like muscle cars. I like recreationally shooting guns. I think that's cool.
right.
You know, I don't even like driving fast. I just like driving a muscle car, older, cool car. So the things that I'm into don't cost that much. I mean, Netflix don't cost that much, and you know what I'm saying. Like things that, but the reason I want to make, I do want to figure kind of to do something positive for underdeveloped.
Communities
So
and
yeah, that's what I like
underserved.
to do. Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
all I want to know. Because some stuff you takes on a. Everybody say it just takes time, but it does money. Like it does take a certain some. Yeah, you can put some time out there into it, but like some of the things that some of the things that people need cost.
Right.
You know, so that's really what I want. Uh, he said I can't help the people if I'm one. You know, so like I'm broke just like them. Not much I can do for them. You know, so that's really all I've ever wanted to do. You know, so to go back to your original question, that's what my family did. You know, my family was pretty active in their own. I don't always agree with the way that they did things, but in essence, they just wanted to help. Like, just got done with a interview with Randall Falk, and he represents the native people, and he. I was just looking at him, and then like you see a lot of Latin people who do interviews. They're always trying to bring about awareness to the Latin community and things like that.
Mhm.
So, and I've always thought that that's pretty dope. So who better to represent you than someone that looks like you, someone you can speak their language, you know, they understand you, you know, you have and garner attention, you know. So I don't know that though my family, but my family didn't do it with them. They just did it out of the kindness of their heart,
Right.
you know. And so I don't know, man. Like that's what type of family I had. They never had much, Um, I come from a group of people where, like, how was the upbringing in Mississippi? I come from a group of people where there's not many job opportunities. But you know what's crazy is if I brought you to my hometown, first thing my people gonna say is, "Y'all not feeding him. He kind of skinny." Look at him. He be like, "Bro, I need to lose it." But they're like, "Man, he kind of skinny. Come on over here." And everybody gonna cook for you, no matter where. Then like if we came and you got a hotel room, my folks gonna be mad. Like, why did you get a hotel room? Why couldn't you just come? We got extra rooms. And,
Yeah, that's how it is in Puerto Rico too. Especially
yeah,
at Team La Perla Boxing and MMA, it's always an open door policy. The mats are there, the ring is there. So Martin, when you go on vacation next, you gotta come. You gotta come to Team La Perla Boxing and MMA in Puerto Rico, man.
man. I've been listen, man. As soon as this fight over, man, I'm due for some traveling, man. As long as it's laid out for me, and you say, all right, this way you gonna stay, like you know what I'm saying, and hey, I'm with it. This way
Okay,
you gonna train, I'm with it.
definitely. So Martin, as we wrap up today on the Sunday Sit Down series, what would you like to say to those out there during these difficult times?
What I've been telling people um is not to stay off of social media because you needed it to stay informed. Like, cause I believe half, I don't believe any of the stuff that even that I actually see online because um these days, you know what I'm saying? Everything's questionable. So
Right,
people, man, is don't don't offer the knee jerk reactions. Like if you see something and it rubs you a specific way, give it some time before you respond. Like sit down, ponder on it, because you could say emotion and end up regretting it. And these days, you can lose a job behind saying certain things. So
right,
you know what I'm saying? If you don't, you know what I'm saying? So like I tell people, focus on what you got that's in front of you. Like man, get out. Like if what difference do all of the negativity that you see on what difference does that make if your household ain't in order? I think then you know, so I tell people this, man, you know, a lot like year a year ago we were in pandemic, you know what I'm saying? So we didn't and now you got people, you know, moving forward, whether people believe that is real or not, you know, people's whole reality has changed. So
right.
so moving forward, you know what I'm saying? Hold on to what like don't stop looking at things that you don't have and actually look at the things you do have, you know. And I think that's the best. That's what gives me peace. When I mean when you say who is Martin outside of this, told you I had like before. You know I've I've done I can do keep what I have if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like I can't meet like when it first happened and we weren't allowed to be around people in large crowds and I had family members pass and I wasn't able to eat the funeral because they wasn't letting people in. But you know, I just you sat back and I said, well, what can I do? So now I be online talking to my I mean since I couldn't meet people, some of my family members at video games. Like I actually play with them, but not to even play. We just get on the headset instead of actually calling you and seeing how you doing. We actually found
yeah.
something recreationally that we could do together, and it doesn't cost a dime. And you're in different states, and we can still do that together. You know, like I was always like I call my mama more during the pandemic than I have ever called my family ever.
That's awesome.
But it's because I was forced to. And then when I'm sitting at and sitting there like, man, I can't go somewhere. I'm about to go crazy. I'm about to go crazy. Now I made a garden and I forgot how much I love nature. So that's why I say, man, the if you say what would I tell people, man, look at what you got. There's way more beauty out here. There's way more out here that's sitting right. being funny, you man. If you live at home, if you 38 and you still live with your mama and you mad about, then you think about how many people who mama kicked them out. You know, it's always
Very
a
true.
bright, it's a
It's
good
always a
way to
positive,
look at. Yeah, it's a good way to look at what you
positive
got, man.
spin on a negative time. And
Right.
and Martin, well said. Focus on what you have.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Focus
Martin,
on what you got, man.
I really appreciate your time today, sharing your story inside outside of the ring on the Sunday Sit Down series. I look forward to
Yeah.
your career progressing, bare knuckle, fighting championship, knuckle up. Get ready.
Yes,
Look
sir.
forward to it. That's I believe Friday, February 5th in Lakeland at the
Yes, sir.
RMP Funding Center. Martin, where
Yeah.
can everyone find you on social media?
Man, you know I'm terrible at that stuff, man. So
What's your
it's
hashtag? What's your
yeah.
you on
So I have
Twitter,
to. I'm sitting here
Facebook,
like,
Instagram?
no, Instagram is at Martin underscore smash underscore Brown. You know,
Very good.
active on my athlete account on Facebook, but my personal account, however, man, I'm on it, and I manage my own page. So you know what I'm saying. If I respond to you in the end, whether it be an insult or whether it be words of encouragement, actually me.
All right, Martin. Well, I appreciate your time today, and it was a pleasure talking to you and hearing your story. Look
Good to
forward to
be
your
here.
career progressing, like I said, and wish you all the best in your next fight.
Same
Take
here.
care.
You too, my man.
All right.